Welcome into Bears Now. I am Harrison Graham. So Shane Waldron, the next offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears. That report coming out earlier today, finalizing that hire here. And I'm excited about it. I told you guys in full detail why I'm excited about it. If you want deeper depth, you can check that video out. We're going to talk about it a little bit more here, but also kind of get to the latest news and rumors stemming from the hire of Shane Waldron. But some of the reasons I like this move for Chicago is, number one, the experience factor. 3 years of play calling. Last time around, they kind of projected with Luke Getsy. They liked that scheme that he had worked under Matt LaFleur with, but he had never called plays, and I think it showed. He never got comfortable. Every time it was one step forward, it was two steps back. Waldron's got 3 years of doing it, and he's done it at a pretty nice level with Geno Smith, of all quarterbacks. So if he can get a more talented player, then I think he can be an even better play caller. He's worked under 3 great coaches. Pete Carroll most recently, Sean McVay before that, and earlier in his coaching career, Bill Belichick. You're talking about 3 legendary coaches with different mindsets, different side of the ball. I like that experience a lot. He helped revitalize Geno Smith, like I mentioned, as well. There's overlap in his scheme with the current Bears system, so you're not going to have to teach your current players just all kinds of new stuff. There will always obviously be a lot of new things, but you're not starting from scratch. And then you've got the Caleb Williams connection as well, as they overlap with QB Collective. Now, Justin Fields has worked with QB Collective also. I'm not sure if he and Waldron overlapped in that regard, so that is noteworthy. But if you do decide to go with Caleb Williams in the draft, well, Shane Waldron already at least knows him on some level. Now, this is an interesting report as well. Shane Riordan, one of the producers over at 670 The Score, says a source close to the situation tells me that LA Rams pass game coordinator and quarterbacks coach Zach Robinson was the runner-up to Shane Waldron in the search for a new Bears offensive coordinator. Ryan Poles is clearly hitting the Sean McVay coaching tree very hard. And look, I think the Bears made the right call here. I really like Zach Robinson. I told y'all when that report came out that they were interviewing him, I'm very intrigued. I had him in my top 3 or 4 candidates. I don't think the Bears could afford to risk hiring another OC without play calling experience. It sucks for Robinson. I'm sure he would have loved to have the opportunity to work with either Justin Fields or the number 1 pick, whoever they choose at quarterback if they do pick a quarterback. But I just think the Bears, where they're at right now, they had to get someone with experience. So you've got that going on. I don't expect them to be able to lure in Zach Robinson for another position, considering he's already a quarterbacks coach and pass game coordinator in LA. I expect him to be an OC somewhere. Grade the Shane Waldron hire, A, B, C, D, or F. I think I said A- this morning. I like it a lot. The offense in Seattle dipped a bit this year, but they had some offensive line injuries. It is Geno Smith, after all. Geno threw for over 4,000 last year, which is impressive as hell, that Waldron, with Dave Canales as well, who went on to Tampa and has done some good things, helped revitalize his career. But I think it's a good hire. I think it's not only a good hire, but a safe hire, which I think sometimes you need to go the safe route, considering the Getsy thing didn't work out. So A, B, C, D, or F, let us know what you guys think. So what does this mean for the quarterback? Brad Spielberger hopped on CHGO today. Big fan of their show. Adam Hogan, the guys over there, Mark Carman, Greg Braggs, all of them. They do a great job. I watch them a good amount. They had him on, Spielberger of PFF, who's a cap expert, but also is sourced in the league. This is what he said. He said Waldron's primary motivation of taking this job would be to coach and develop Caleb Williams. That's straight from his mouth. Now, you can take that for gospel. You can call BS. You can say whatever you want. I will say this. Spielberger doesn't usually throw out BS. He's not like Adam Schefter level where he gets all kinds of scoops. But when he has a scoop and he throws it out there, he's typically on the point. He called the Montez Sweat trade to the Bears. He said this is a very real possibility. They traded for him. So I think that's noteworthy. And I think what's also noteworthy is Shane Waldron had other options. And why is that noteworthy? Well, if you're Shane Waldron, and I don't know which side of the coin is true, but would you rather come coach the number 1 pick in the draft, whether that's Caleb Williams, Drake May, or another quarterback? I would think Caleb Williams. There's been a lot of smoke there. Have a chance to develop and groom him, someone who a lot of people think is going to be the next great thing. Or are you more interested, if you're Shane Waldron, in trying to unlock Justin Fields in year 4, something Luke Getsy was unable to do? Now, I would hope Shane Waldron had and has a plan for Fields if that is the direction that the Bears decide to go in, because until the Bears sit down with Caleb Williams, get to know him, etc., I don't think a decision can be final at quarterback. But I gotta think that he's probably more intrigued with having some say in that number one pick and developing a rookie quarterback. It's just a hunch. I don't know that for a fact, but I think Spielberger saying that is intriguing. And I just think, like, thinking about it logically, do you want to capture a quarterback in year 4, where how often does a quarterback break out at a massive level in year 4? Or do you want to start fresh and groom a young, talented quarterback like Caleb Williams? The good news is I don't think the Waldron hire overly tips the hand in either direction. I do think they're probably leaning Caleb Williams, if I had to guess. But again, you can't have a final answer until you meet Caleb, until you sit down with him, until you do the full background check and all of that stuff, getting to know the kid. What's he about? What makes him tick? Can he be a leader in this city? Can he handle criticism that naturally comes with being the Bears quarterback, especially replacing a quarterback that's very popular, not only in that locker room, but in this city and Justin Fields? So all those questions have to be answered, but I got to think they're leaning in the Williams direction. Don't know that for sure. Don't take that for gospel. You guys can take what Spielberger said however you want, but the fact that he flat out said the appeal of working with Caleb Williams just straight up that's pretty intriguing and noteworthy to me. So fill in the blank. The Bears' 2024 starting quarterback in Week 1 will be blank. You think it's Justin Fields? You think it's Caleb Williams? You think it's Drake May? Someone else? Fill in the blank. Who is the Bears' 2024 Week 1 starting quarterback if you had to take a guess? Well, something you shouldn't be guessing about is PrizePicks. Download the app right now. You won't. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Is the place to go to download the app. Use the code CLNS to start an account today and get that $100 deposit matched. You choose more or less, 2 to 6 player entries, NFL, NBA, college basketball, NHL, esports. Make your entries, choose more or less on the stat projections, and if you hit on all of them, boom, you're cashing in. I got a 3-player entry for conference championship weekend. Isaiah Pacheco, I'll go less on the rushing yards. I think it's going to be a slugfest in Baltimore. I don't like Lamar on the rushing either. I think they both go less. And then Travis Kelce, he looks back, man. I mean, he had one of his best games of the year against Buffalo, 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to trust him, feed him early and often in that game up in Baltimore. $10 to win 50 here. Feel good about it. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get started today. Links in the comments and in the description. Celebrities like Meek Mill, Andrew Schultz, they're playing PrizePicks. You can too. Get started today, PrizePicks.com/CLNS. So let's go into the pros of coaching Justin Fields and the pros of coaching Caleb Williams if you are Shane Waldron. We'll start with Fields. Well, you have the opportunity to prove that you can unlock him as a passer. We know Fields is a good deep ball thrower. We know he throws the ball well on the run. Can he sit in the pocket consistently, diagnose, and deliver the football accurately? We've seen him do that at times, but we haven't seen him do it consistently. Number 2, something Luke Getsy failed to do, is you can lean in and maximize his unique running ability. When the Bears did that, it worked, but then they'd go away from it for a while. And then you start this year and you don't even do it at all the first month of the season. Like, if you keep Justin Fields, yes, you need to improve him as a passer, but you need to lean into what he does well. There's no doubt about that. And then another pro is DJ Moore has great chemistry with Justin Fields. You have a number 1 receiver who has great chemistry with the current quarterback. So if you're Shane Waldron, you can look at that and be like, okay, that's already in place. I don't have to worry about that. Those two get along. They have chemistry together on and off the field. That's set in stone. How can we get other players on this team to produce? That's what you focus on at that point in time. Here's some pros to coaching Caleb Williams. You get your hands on the number 1 pick in the draft, right? I mean, that's pretty rare for an offensive coordinator to enter a pretty good situation, a team with a decent roster. Oh, and by the way, you get handed the keys to the number 1 pick in the draft because Matt Eberflus is not an offensive guy. Here you go, Shane. You're in charge of coaching up Caleb Williams. You can design your offense around him. I think his scheme works well for Williams. 3 wide receiver sets a lot of the time. You can adapt what you need to build around this talented quarterback. And then thirdly, and this is probably true with Justin too, if you can unlock him as a passer, but if you have big success with the rookie quarterback, that probably means you're getting a head coaching job. Look at Bobby Sloak. He may not get one this cycle, but he probably will next cycle with what he's done with C.J. Stroud. Like, if you are a offensive mind that unlocks a rookie quarterback, you almost always get a chance to be a head coach. So that is the appeal right there if you're Shane Waldron. Now, the challenge with Justin Fields is if you keep him and he doesn't take the proper steps in 2024, then you're likely having to start from scratch at 2025 at quarterback. And beyond that, what if that means Matt Eberflus is fired? Then you don't know where you're heading if you're Shane Waldron. So I think if you're Waldron, that's just another reason like, hey, let's reset with Williams. It buys us more time. And even if year one isn't great, well, it's a rookie. You're building something. You don't have to start from scratch. If you keep Justin Fields and it's more of the same or hell, he regresses, you can't run him back out there for year 5 in 2025. Then you're really starting over at quarterback in a less talented QB class, at least on paper right now. And oh, by the way, you probably will not have the number 1 pick this time. So that is the challenge if you keep Fields and it doesn't work out, is there's a lot of even more question marks heading into next offseason, I should say, than there were heading into this offseason. Subscribe to the channel if you want the latest Bears news, rumors, quarterback discussion, and more for agency draft. Hit that sub button. Turn on those notifications. We got you covered here on Chicago Bears Now. We're not going anywhere this offseason, so stay tuned. Okay, let's get into the Bears defensive coordinator search. It's underway. Chicago is interviewing a former DB of the Bears, Chris Harris, for its open defensive coordinator job. No, this is not the Chris Harris that played in Denver for a while. This is the Chris Harris that played with the Bears, bounced around a little bit. Didn't have as successful of a playing career as the other Chris Harris, but was pretty good in his own right, and he's a rising young coach. Tom Pelissero had this report that Titans defensive pass game coordinator and quarterbacks coach Chris Harris will interview for the Bears defensive coordinator job. Per source, a one-time Bears draft pick who became a highly respected player in Chicago. Harris also interviewed for the Jaguars defensive coordinator job this past week. And by the way, the Jags have filled their defensive coordinator job with Ryan Nielsen, who came from Falcons staff, Ryan Nielsen. So he leaves Atlanta to go to Jacksonville. So you've got that going on. And I think there's some reasons this makes sense. Number one, played under Lovie Smith, similar schematic in that 4-3 Tampa 2 scheme. So you've got, from a terminology standpoint, plug-and-play type of defensive coordinator. He knows the defense. And I think this is a textbook. Matt Eberflus would probably still call plays, right? It's a title improvement for Chris Harris. He comes up with a lot of the game plans, but Flus on game days would still be calling plays, and that's what I would prefer. I want Matt Eberflus calling the defense. That would be my preference. So I think Chris Harris makes a lot of sense in that regard. Plus, it is someone outside the organization, so you're not completely just promoting someone and it's just status quo. You're at least bringing someone with different thoughts in here, which I like that as well. Now, we'll talk about one other candidate in just a second that just emerged minutes ago if you're watching live, if you're watching later tonight on Monday in the last couple of hours. Do you want Matt Eberflus calling defensive plays in 2024? Type Y for yes and for no. I do. I want him calling plays. I think a big reason for keeping Flus is because he turned around the defense. Like, if you keep him and he goes back to being a CEO, I'm kind of just like, why'd you keep him then? Like, I feel like one of his better attributes is calling defense. So I would absolutely have him call plays. And then just a little bit ago, Mike Garafolo, Titans assistant head coach, defensive line coach Terrell Williams will interview with the Bears for the defensive coordinator job. Williams will be the head coach of the American team in the Senior Bowl next week. So his work is getting noticed across the league. That's pretty noteworthy. I know Luke Getsy didn't work out, but one benefit of Luke Getsy being here was he was one of the head coaches of the Senior Bowl last year. Bears got up-close access, drafted a few players from the Senior Bowl, and a lot of them played well. Tyreek Stevenson, Javon Dexter, Darnell Wright, all Senior Bowl guys, and they all played well as rookies. So if you do bring this guy in here, you're going to have up-close access, again, to some guys at the Senior Bowl. So I think that's very relevant and noteworthy as well. So we'll see which out of these two. I'm sure there will be more candidates could be the guy for Matt Eberflus. All right, there you have it. Busy show, news, rumors, QB, Shane Waldron. things are just heating up, baby. So follow me on Instagram as well. I'm plugging out short-form content all the time over there at HGramNFL. We're almost to 5,000 followers. Once I get to 5,000 followers on Instagram, I will share some of your mock drafts on an episode. So help us out at HGramNFL on Instagram.